As time goes on, international tensions thicken. Geopolitical destruction is evident. Then world powers are squaring off against each other at this time of sheer turmoil. What is at stake? Everything. It has been said that when all else fails, we are taken to war. This would be gruesome and painful and a grand mistake. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we are going to look at this issue and also connect that in with this. The greenback reaches the strongest level since 2003 versus the euro. Slowly but surely what we are seeing here is a reaching of parity between the US dollar and the euro. This, I do believe, would set off various algorithms and hit that trigger to therefore send it even lower in a rapid pace. What has happened in Europe? Obviously, there has been sovereign debt problems that have been going on for years. The banks are on the edge of bankruptcy, technically bankrupt, but they're making it seem as though they're on the edge of bankruptcy. And meanwhile, the US dollar is looking stronger only in relation to those other currencies. When you have a whole bunch of garbage out there, you search for the best piece of garbage. And here we are trying to face currencies off against each other. But in this paradigm, the fiat currency paradigm, we have to understand that it's all fake. So which one is worse or which one is best? How you want to look at it. Let's get into the article here out of Bloomberg. The dollar rallied to its strongest level since 2003 against the euro while gold plunged. As the prospect of a steeper path for the U.S. interest rates going forward filtered through markets, U.S. stocks rebounded from their worst day in 2 months as havens retreated. Okay, so what we see here are, your basic effects of what has happened with the Federal Reserve increasing interest rates at that fraction that it did. And this suggests and should suggest that everything is sound now. Everything is just wonderful. Don't worry about it. By increasing the interest rates by this marginal amount, they're saying, look, we're on the path to recovery because otherwise we wouldn't increase this interest rates. And slowly but surely we'll be fine. That's what it signals to the market, and as a result, the market reacts and behaves in this way. I don't necessarily agree with what they're saying here. I'm just reading the news in this point. And once again, the US dollar may look like it's strong, and in this contest here, what we have found is who is the least bad. That's ultimately what we are finding. Now, this is huge. So we've heard the reports before about Russia hacking in to the U.S. presidential election. This has been the claim. And there, reportedly, 17 U.S. agencies that have determined that there was foul play. So, what evidence do they have? Well, apparently they have evidence. Okay, cool. All right. Where is the evidence? Okay, well, they're not going to show it to us. But you know what? Let's just trust them. There's 17 agencies, so let's trust them. Okay? Nobody question them. Nobody question known liars. Nobody question anybody with an agenda. Nobody question anything. If you see it in the news, you should just believe it. Well, that's exactly what has been happening, and it's so silly and stupid because it's coming from the same people who will lie and lie and lie and lie. But here they are, yet again, saying, believe us, trust us, don't believe them, who is them, not too sure, don't worry about it. Look at this. Russia coming out and saying, this is actually coming from a spokesman from Putin himself, saying the United States must either stop accusing Russia of meddling in its elections or prove it. Finally, saying, okay, that's enough. if you say that we did so, you have to actually prove that. And of course, will they actually be able to prove it? Well, that remains to be seen. I'm quite confident that there will be nothing that is quite groundbreaking if they do see anything. Or we'll never really know because it could be faked and a forgery. And speaking of which, look at this. You have seen it if you've been on the channel before or you've been paying attention to the news about Sheriff Joe Arpaio's investigation into Obama's birth certificate. And what needs to be discussed, what is very important, is that Sheriff Joe said, "We are not here to discuss the legitimacy of this individual. Our job is to determine, is this document a forgery?" He doesn't care about the personal side of it. What he is there to do, his team, is this document fake? That's all. And the investigation clearly, it was extremely clear. If you read this through, I read this whole article. It's quite lengthy, but it does get into every piece of the detail. So I do recommend that you take a look at it. And it is very clear, there is no question that the document is fake. Now, is there a real document of Obama's birth certificate here somewhere? Maybe. There might be there. Okay? But the one that they put on the White House website is not real. Okay? It is very clear it was forged. Okay? They even found the person, the original document where it was taken from, and they were able to, point out all the problems within this document. Okay. All he has done here is confirmed that the document is fake. There has been no other details that they've gone into. What his objective was clear, and they did that. They proved it. But still, in the mainstream media, it's considered to be a joke. Look at it. Look at it for yourself. Look through these points that they make throughout this. You can see the stamp that they used. You can see how the typewriter activity on it. You could see that different letters were used multiple times, like as if they copied and pasted multiple times. You could see a whole bunch of different things that were very strange within the document, making it impossible to be legitimate. It had to be a forgery. So here are those details for you. This right here, I mean, fantastic hair. Fantastic. And, what we are looking at here is the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, with probably the best hair out of any head of state. And that is something to be proud of, absolutely. Trudeau's government will face off against its greatest challenge to date, a Trump presidency. That's right, such a challenge. And what it's saying is that there's going to be some tensions, which I disagree with, tensions in between the US and Canada. What I would say is very important is that through economic turmoil, what we could have is a problem in Canada. Nearly 3/4 of Canada's exports head to the US, while some 400,000 people a day cross the shared border. And this here could present a problem. If the US, for example, is heading into a crisis, if they have problems on their side, Canadians, I assure you, we have problems on our side. I had read statistics a little while back that 87% of Ontario's exports are going to the US. Look, if the US isn't buying, we won't be able to sell. So this is a challenge. And keep in mind that for your country, wherever that is that you are, or perhaps your state or your province, we're always doing business geographically where it makes it easier. So that tends to be the countries or cities or states or provinces that are next to each other. So we want to have those good political ties. However, when one state or city or country or whatever is not doing well, that presents a problem for the others interconnected with it. Once again, just want to mention fantastic hair. China's holdings. Here's the big news of the day. China's holdings of U.S. Treasuries declined to the lowest in more than 6 years. as the world's second largest economy, uses its currency reserves to support the yuan. Japan, number 1 now, overtook China as America's top foreign creditor. Top foreign creditor as its holdings edged down at a slow pace. So, of course, let's look at this, be realistic here. China still has a lot of U.S. government debt. 1.12 trillion. I mean, it's a massive amount. And it has been, a slow decline. This hasn't been exactly something that has taken place overnight. And this change will not go overnight. But what I will say is that we need to look for a trend. It goes up, it goes down. But look for the trend. And I do see the rhetoric there that China has said, we don't want as much of this U.S. debt. We want to get into other investments. And we see that happening. A lot of real assets are being purchased by China. And it seems that they're trying to wean off the U.S. dollar, the U.S. debt. But they use it as a weapon of war as well. They do want to keep a good hold on that because they can hold the power in their hands. Very interesting to see these currency wars that are taking place. And last but not least, I want to leave you with this. It's about Venezuela, something that I've been covering obviously very often. Something that, strangely, is not really getting covered in the alternative news as much as it should. With average wages less than the equivalent of $50 a month at black market rates, 3 local councils and 4 national welfare groups all confirmed an increase in parents handing their children over to the state. That's the big one. Or the charities or friends and family. That hurts. That really hurts because, especially to the state. And you know what happens, at least in the US. I've seen the numbers. When this happens, they're handed over to the state. They're abused. They're treated poorly. And their lives afterwards tend to be really terrible. And in Venezuela right now, things are getting so bad, even though the country is sitting on top of the liquid black gold, oil, obviously. The corruption that has taken place and the economic warfare which has punished this country is sending it down in a tailspin, a spiral downward, and it is collapsing before our very eyes. You've seen the reports of inflation. Is it 500%? Is it 700? Is it 2,000? I don't know. But the people are screwed. And it's really hard to look at it all because it is, as I've said before, a crystal ball looking into the future of the country and city that you are in. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. If you love David Rockefeller's face, give me a thumbs down. Many of you liked that image from the last video. And if you found it informative, you'll find my book, The Money GPS, even more informative because it has charts and diagrams that I've designed that make this complex subject very easy to learn. So you can go to Amazon where they have a look inside feature that will allow you to flip through the pages of the book and see if you like it. Take care.